is the Talk Bout tournament that's coming up.
Yep.
Obviously, you know you are competing on this card. You are opening the main card. When you think about the match, I know you don't really know much about your opponent necessarily. Are you nervous for the fact of just the match itself? Let's just start there because there's a lot of different things for somebody like you.
I think I am nervous, but not. I think I'm confident in my ability in terms of like technique and strength and everything like that. It's just like the immediate pressure leading up to it. Like, oh, people are going to be there that, you know, I know and appreciate, look up to, that I'm going to be watching. But so, yeah, I am nervous, but I'm also extremely excited.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. But here's also another thing that you have to realize is that you're competing at your home gym, too. So does that add an extra layer of nerves for you, knowing that I would imagine most of the gym is going to show out for this and they all know who you are? Does that matter, or is that not really what plays a part in it, or is it just more just like your internal thoughts that makes you nervous?
I think predominantly my internal thoughts, but I think
Here, bring the mic up a little bit. Yeah,
you're
good.
All right. I think the gym being at the home gym, yes, it does add a little bit of pressure because obviously you guys all train with me. You know me like personally. I'm friends with all of you. A little bit of pressure, but it also, we talked about this too previously. Like, I'm going to be on the mat that I train on all the time. I've been training on for years. Like, I'm comfortable in the actual physical environment. So ultimately, I think it's going to give me an edge, like home field advantage kind of thing.
Right.
But like, yeah, a little bit of additional nerves, but I think it's like in a very constructive way to kind of motivate me further.
Right, and like I said before, I know you don't know anything about Mike necessarily, but I do know that he trains out of a great gym. And the guy in the main event, Andrew Cockold, obviously is an animal, and he's in the main event going head-to-head with your buddy Chris, who obviously is also in the main event. I want to talk to you about that match before we come back to you and your journey, because obviously, you know, I have so much I want to talk about there. When you see Chris, you train with Chris all the time. So I want to actually ask you this question. Do you think that Chris can defeat Andrew? I know that you know Andrew from a sense of he competes all the time. You know that he's an animal. Everybody knows who Andrew Cockold is. Yeah. What's really interesting is that a lot of the people on the card, once you start getting down to after the co-main event, are a lot of new people, a lot of new faces. So Andrew Cockold is not a new face. No. So do you think that Chris has a good chance against a guy like him who is a black belt, very experienced? What do you think about that match?
Yes, I do think Chris can win. I think Andrew has his reputation precedes him, dude. Like, he's always competing. He has a name for himself. Like, he's fought people in this area and just like messed them up. But I'm never doubting Chris again. I can't. Every single time I doubt him, he just like does some shit and proves me wrong. So I mean, I've been training with Chris for a long time. He's always just like the hardest role in the gym. He knows that. I know. Everyone knows that.
Right.
I think if he plays his A game, kind of like does a good job at like monitoring his nerves prior, dude, I think he has a great chance to win. Now, It's going to be hard, very hard. And as long as he doesn't underestimate Andrew, which I don't think Chris is a smart guy. He wouldn't do that. As long as he goes in there with the right mentality, he could definitely win.
Do you think that he's the underdog?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
sure.
Like, if there was betting odds, he would be the underdog.
For sure. Which is, I think that's good for him, truthfully. I think that might motivate him further. But, like, he's going into black belt tournaments and just, like, people up.
I know, all the time, dude, all the time. And that's why you give him somebody on this level. Yeah. And I remember I told you about it, and Riley and I watched Andrew Cockold compete in Combat Jiu-Jitsu Worlds. So when I told Riley about it, he knew who I was talking about. Yeah. Like, all these grapplers on these cards, I'm learning, too. I mean, this is my first ever event that we're putting on with our brand new promotion, but I didn't need to know who Andrew Cockold is. I knew exactly who he is.
He is a
freaking monster.
He's a monster, yeah.
And it's going to be interesting. And also, speaking of Rev guys, a guy who was supposed to be on the card, one of your close friends, especially at the gym, Jake Bryan, unfortunately got hurt, had to be pulled off the card. But I hope to get him on the next card if he's healthy. And we're going to talk about him, I'm sure, a little bit more as well. But I just want to ask you a few questions about the tournament and everything. Are you excited?
Very.
And it's coming up, man. I mean, it is for sure. And you just said that you're going to be done working pretty soon and just fully focused on
jiu-jitsu. Just like condensed training camp, just like train as much as I can within, like, obviously safely.
Yeah.
To prevent any injury, but like, just like get as sharp as I can.
That's great.
In the weeks leading up, get in good shape, get the cardio.